Okay, I did. Okay, I'm so sorry, but I didn't know I could individually mute people. Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Oh. Sorry, you must have been super annoying last time I saw you.
All good.
Every damn time.
Every time, but we can hear you at least.
Yep.
Hello, Warren.
Hello.
Hi. Now I can hear everyone.
Nice. Are we on YouTube yet, Warren?
If we're live on YouTube, then I can get you, Nikolaj, to commit to. No, I can't because it'll be a secret thing. Secret until Code Garden.
You were just about to get us on tape saying something we shouldn't, or?
Yeah. Committing to something that you then couldn't back out of. So. We can't cancel the commitment just yet.
No.
So I'm going to be here for the first 15, and then I'm going to run on to welcome. Welcome to Nikolaj. And hey, Ravi.
Hey.
So we now have a chat next to the videos, which is interesting. I wonder if it saves the chat somewhere after this.
Yeah, we can figure that out. Cool. Everyone hyped for Code Garden? I know I am.
Of course. Hyped and a bit nervous, but when you talk and everything, it's like, oh.
You'll be
It's
fine.
very soon, all of a sudden.
It was miles away once.
Yeah, it's like, I have plenty of time. And suddenly, oh, it's next week.
And now we're prepping it and talking. It's just like, oh shit, we're gonna have to go next week.
Yeah, I keep saying it's in 2 weeks, and people keep correcting me, but it's less than one now. Yeah,
it's less than a week.
less than a week.
Yeah.
And Ravi, you were in Denmark a minute ago, weren't you?
I was literally in Denmark just over a week ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was in Aarhus, having a lovely time.
Yeah,
Yep,
I was there this
it is.
weekend.
Wonderful city.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like Odense, but bigger.
This is exactly what I've heard.
And I didn't realise just how many Umbraco / people / companies are all there in this little bubble. Because obviously, I knew Novicel was there, but then there's people like Christian Steinmeier, obviously the wonderful Jan Skuvgaard, and who I hooked up with, which was lovely.
Wonderful pronunciation as well, Ravi.
It's like I'll have Dave Wurstenbru's name down soon. See, been secretly practicing that one for ages.
Standing in front of the mirror for hours.
Yeah.
Runa's the mountain I've got to climb. When I get Runa, I'll be Runa.
That one, even though it's only 4 letters, I've definitely given up on.
It's the hardest.
He knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah, you.
Like that avatar.
Seb, you look very busy.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find bikes for someone who's coming to Code Garden.
Nice.
That was also me earlier when you asked me, Warren, about the iOptions monitor stuff. I was just like, I don't remember this. I made this nine months ago.
It's it's bad enough when it's a week ago. Like,
Yeah, that was
I
9
don't
months
remember.
ago. It was in September. I was just like, I don't remember this at all.
Ooh, should we get started? Are the Nikolaj sharing something?
We haven't prepared nothing. We were under strict orders to not prepare anything.
Perfect.
Yeah, not preparing is definitely the name of the game for Collab. Tell us about the acceptance testing you've been doing then. Give us as much as you can and tell us how to be contributors.
Sure. So let's start about what is an acceptance test, because when we say acceptance test, we actually mean automated tests that interact with the UI, because an acceptance test could also be manual, but it's not in our case. We're talking about the automated ones.
Okay, so I can just show one.
Yeah.
Just so if I can figure out how to mirror this. So it should be. Sorry. There we go.
Did you optimize for text sharing? Well, you did that.
I don't know. Did I?
Try to cancel and try again, because there's a special checkbox you need to.
Let's try here. Oh yeah, better readability.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, there we go. So now we should see the normal
See,
back
open
office.
Umbraco.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Work.
Because that's one of the things when you write acceptance tests, you want to start off with like completely clean back office, no document type, no nothing, and then you can run the test by doing npm run UI. But I think we can go a bit more into detail later. And this will open up our pretty test runner here. And here you can then pick. You can run all the tests, but for now we'll just run, I don't know, some content tests, and it'll open up our Chrome window, and you can see it. It'll start to whiz around and do a lot of stuff. Yep. And that's really the nutshell of what acceptance test is interacting directly with the UI and APIs to test various things. I think that pretty much covers what it is, right?
Yep.
Yep. So I guess it would make sense to just show how you can get started running these tests locally.
Yeah. Should I try starting on a fresh clone, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll toss it over to you.
So let's see. So where did you find that setting though?
After you choose your screen.
Choose your screen, and then
we never stream with optimized for
like
text.
Yeah, exactly.
So we use, of course, Writer, because it's the better.
For acceptance, it really doesn't matter what ID you use. You can use whatever you want.
Yeah.
Not if you want to be one of the cool kids, though.
No, if you want to be a Nikolaj, you have to use Writer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Nikolaj's gang.
Can I spell collab? Just clone a fresh project down. But yeah, you could even run it from the CLI with just .NET Run. You do have to swap the ports, because we're expecting the ports to be 44331. But I'll show you that in a second when we do our npm install.
Yeah, you can specify it when you install it.
Yeah. Hey, and we're done. So the first thing is to, of course, build the client project. I will do that right now. Let's put an npm install. And while it builds, I can open up the test project. So we have, let's just build this and minimize it. Good. So we have a test folder in the root of our project, we have a source where all the normal projects lie, but we have a test folder where there's a folder called test.acceptances where all our acceptances lie. And we can open up a CLI here, do npm install. And it'll prompt you for your super admin username, whatever. I use umbraco.dk. You use a back office user.
Yeah. Of course, use a test user, not your actual password.
You can know my test passwords. It's 120. So, and here you set up the port. So, as I've cloned down a fresh one and I've launched Umbraco 1,000 times, I know the port is 44331. That's the standard. But you could change this, and especially if you're running from templates, if I recall correctly, that's not 44331. If you run from a template, it's 44337 or something.
And the easiest way to get this URL is just to run the site and then in the first page just copy paste it and you're good to go.
But as I'm running the default Umbraco solution, I don't have to change anything. I just press enter, and now we have it installed. So we do npm run UI as Nikolaj did just when I finished launching the site. It's always slow when you're demoing, so that's nice.
I think you might be on mute, by the way. Anyone's talking.
we can hear him.
I can hear fine.
Okay.
I think other Nikolaj was there. Looks like he's talking, but it's on mute.
You can hear me fine, right? Okay, good. Maybe he has me muted like Sebastian.
Also, yeah.
So Nikolaj G?
Yes.
Oh, Nikolaj.
Do you have him muted? Can you hear him?
No, it's got a mute icon on Discord for me.
Yeah, so you can. I did that as well. So you can unmute people individually, apparently.
Apparently, I'm very, very noisy, and everyone has me muted.
How weird.
I'm a little bit offended, but it's
Sorry, Nikolaj. It wasn't
I
personal.
don't know why that would happen either.
And we just do the npm run UI. That's all we do.
You hear him now, Matt?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, good.
Good.
Of course, you have to install the Umbraco site as well.
Yeah. So that's what we just did, and now we can npm run UI.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, did I not do that on stream?
I don't think so. I didn't see it at least.
That was a whole mute debacle. But yeah, I in the background I installed Umbraco with my super user I typed in, so with my ng Umbraco email and password. Yeah, and we have the test up and running. So now you're actually ready to create tests. And where do we do that? We do that in the test folder, of course. And we have a Cypress folder. And this is where it's a bit unintuitive. There's an integration folder you actually have to go into. And then it's like, okay, there's a lot of folders here. But here's where we split up our tests, as you see them here as well. You can see there's a content folder, data type folder. And that's how it looks here as well. Yes.
Exactly.
So if you wanted to make a content test, you would go into the content and open up that TS file. So let's actually do that. And then
we do.
We do.
I honestly don't know. I don't think I've ever read it.
Maybe. Let's take a look at it. This is where it would be really nice to have the preview. Yes. Oh.
I'm dropping out now, people, but keep up the good in a bit.
But yeah, then we actually have all our tests in here. So you can see we have a copy content test. And if we run just the content tests, someone's very noisy now. Is it me again?
I don't know.
Sammy Odin is noisy.
Oh. Didn't have this launch.
Yes, thank you for muting. Thank you.
And you see here, we have a copy content test, and it actually corresponds to the one in the UI. A trick is that if you want to run only your test, you can actually outcomment all the tests, but that's a lot of work. I usually just make another file just beside it, and then you can choose it from the UI here and run it. Only that test.
Yeah, and then copy over the test when you're done.
Yeah, that's usually the best. And you will notice sometimes when you then move your test over, that your test fails, maybe, but or other tests break, and you're like, why do other tests break? And it's because you need to remember to clean up after yourself. So when you're done acceptance testing, we should always leave in the same state as we started in. So if you create a document type, delete it after your test, because you can run into problems like if you create a document type named root in your test and don't remove it, if someone else is trying to create a document type named root, they'll run into errors, and that test will error out. So please clean up after yourself, just like in real life.
Yeah, and of course we have some helpful methods to help you do that. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can see.
Yeah, let me just.
Yeah, so you have here Umbraco ensure data type name not exist, and that will check is there a data type with this name, and if there is, then it'll delete it. And I think it's also worth mentioning here, as you can see, for some reason, and I've been unable to figure out why, when the files are TypeScript files, we can't see our own helper methods. So another little weird quirk that I found is if you just rename the file extension to JavaScript, then everything works just fine.
Let's try that.
Yeah, and then you get all your.
And now we get IntelliSense.
All your IntelliSense. I honestly don't know why this is. I'm no TypeScript expert, but yeah, that's more or less what it is.
Yeah, might be a writer thing, but I think it also happens in Visual Studio, right? If I remember correctly.
I'm not. I'll be honest. I haven't tried.
I haven't used Visual Studio in ages. VS Code, but
I wouldn't know. But
yeah,
yeah, that's pretty much the basics. I think.
Yeah.
I guess maybe.
I think something like testing, we can actually create content with the same name, and then usually it will auto name to home parentheses 1, for example,
Yeah.
if you try it. So let's
That's
try and see if that's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that should be fine. If Nikolaj wants to share.
Yeah, unless someone else wants to do it, I can do it. No worries. So where did that go? Oh, here we go. Must be this one. Yeah. And here we go. Now we should have right open. So yes, I guess I'll start out just creating a new file. I don't know, let's just call it something, naming.js. And here it's it pays to be lazy. So what I tend to do is just copy whatever most relevant test in, and then pretty much delete everything again. But I'll show you why in a second. This is really, you don't have to do this. It's just easier than having to do some boilerplate stuff. Here we go. Because what you have to do is you have to create a context, and this has the name of the test suite, but we'll end up copying this over again, so it doesn't really matter. And then there is a before each, and this will run before every single test. And we have here a friendly helper method, Umbraco login, and all this really does is that it logs you in, and then with a username and a password. And then it'll wait for the tours to pop up and close them down again. So it's just to kind of make it easy to get to the first page. So what we have to do first is give it our test a name. We can do it here. It specifies a test, and then it takes a title and a config, which is where you will put all of your code. So we can name this
Create content with the same name.
Yeah, create content with same name. Naming is hard.
And I think the most important thing we need to create some content is probably a document type.
Yes, so that's probably the first thing we have to do.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I'm cheating a bit again, referencing old tests, because a lot of stuff like this, like, creating a document type and stuff is the same. So I find it easier to just look at the old test, because you'll probably have to do a lot of the same. So since we have to clean up after ourselves, then the easiest thing to do is just create all of the names in constants, because then we can use them over and over again. So let's call document type name, and then it doesn't really matter, test type.
So is the base install always expecting to be an empty install? No doc type?
Yes.
No? Okay.
Yes.
Nothing. We always start from a clean state.
But you could technically start with content types, but you would expect your test at least to create the document type it will use.
Okay.
And if we can actually do some defensive coding as well. So
Yep.
let's say, for example, you start with a document type named root. We can actually ensure it actually is deleted before we even start the test, and that's what we do usually.
Okay.
So we just start off saying, even if we don't expect it to be there, just delete it to be on the safe side.
Yeah. So if you accidentally start with some document type, it will not break the test anyways.
So now we need to actually create our document type. So we just call, and this can probably be constant as well. And here we have some nice helpful builders. So we have a document type builder here that we can new up. And then we can say with name, and then give our name, and it'll automatically create a document type and set the alias and whatnot. So in order to just create a really simple document type, all we really have to do is just give it a name.
I think we need the with allow as root as well, so we can use it as a root document type.
Yeah, that's true. It's just like this. Or is it true? Yeah,
True.
Yeah. Yes. So we have to specify, allow as root, and
So you're creating a literally an empty doc type, no properties, no tabs.
no nothing, just
Yeah.
And now we have the model that we want to send to the server. So we go save document type here, and we can pass this in. And now we can actually even just because you don't have to write the entire test, so you can already now check if I run this, it will actually create a document type. Naming. Yeah, it's all. What did I call it again? So often when I write tests, you end up just checking and checking, but we can see here we have our empty test type, and it has an alias, and you can put it as root.
Yep.
So far so good. But of course we need to now know the ID of this document type so we can create some content with it. So we'll add a chainer to this
This method.
Yeah, thank you. Something like this. Because now we can in here we can create some content. I don't know, root. No, actually we don't have to do this because we need to do this. Oh, we need to create one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to create one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
Yeah, just call it content node, but root content node is probably the better name.
Yeah, it's not that it really matters a lot.
No.
But here we also have a content builder. And there is a bit of a trick to this, because for it to actually save it, we have to save with action and then save new. So that'll create a new content node instead of trying to override an old one. And we'll give it a name as well. Document type name, I think. And if I'm not wrong,
I think we need a with save as well. Or do we?
I think a with action does that for us.
Okay. I think you're right.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, you are correct. Because this with name is not yet. Because content is one of the trickier one. Because I think we need to add a variant.
We need to add a variant, yes.
Because even though it's an invariant, that still counts as a variant when we save it. That's a bit weird. But again, that's why we look at the other content test, and you can see all of this stuff. Because now we can say with name. And we need a name, so let's go create a constant here. Node name. Oh no. Home. Hit the.
Yep.
And we can add it here. And then here you're correct. We go with save true because we want to save it. And now since we've done adding the variant, because that's a child builder, we saw done, and then we're back to working on the content type. And then we just go build.
And I like adding tabs after the add variant, so you can see that when you add variant, like that, yeah. So you can see that's for the add variant, and when you're done, you're back on the same line. So if we added multiple variants, it's very clear where the methods belong.
Yeah, nice.
It's not a strict requirement. It's just really nice to read it afterwards that way.
Yeah.
And then we can go again, save content. Now it's of course just content, not document type. And so if we run the test now, we should have some content as well.
We pray.
Nope. Oh, that's great.
Now we learn.
Yep.
Starts with junk. Okay.
Yeah, stuff. Yeah, that's the CRUD you had. Oh, I have seen this before, but I can't remember why.
Can I see your test again, maybe? Because I think we are missing something. Because when creating content, we need a document type to create it from, and that's why we did the whole chaining thing. So we need the alias from that doc type, and so we can do with content type alias.
Oh, it's not parent, it's
with content type alias, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so we need generated doc type, and I think it's bracket and then alias, so you actually pull the alias out from.
Yeah, it should be like this, right?
Yeah, that seems more correct to me at least.
And we've saved new, and yeah, let's try again.
Try that. And this is where it pays off to look at the other tests, because that's what was missing. And you don't get much info from, the JSON starts with junk. It's like, okay, that has nothing to do with what we were missing. So yeah, that's why we sneak peek.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have some content now saved. That looks good.
Yeah, that's
so now we basically have set up through the API all the data we need. So now we need to try and create the content via the UI, right? And name it the same, and hopefully it will let us create a content node with the same name.
But I actually think, yeah, okay. Yep, that's correct.
Yeah. So as you saw, because we create the content via the API, the page doesn't actually refresh, so we don't get to display our content. So Nikolaj manually reloaded it, but we actually have a helper method for that in Cypress as well.
We don't actually in Cypress yet. I just...
Oh right, we have that, yeah. But we can make one. We have that in the content.
In the content,
test.
exactly. In the content.
Okay, yeah, it's not a Cypress test helper thing. It's a local function we made in the content test. Okay.
Yeah, but we have here refresh content tree, and that'll just right click and click refresh, and then wait for it to refresh.
So that sci.get, is that just some CSS selector?
Yeah, exactly. That's now if you go, so this should be something like this. Except generally we try not to use this. There is this automatic selector thing. We try not to use it because it tends to be a bit more flaky than if you write it manually. But it's basically...
How would you normally debug that or do that? Say like, you need to find this element on the page. So how would you normally do it? Is there dev tools you can get to here?
Yeah, usually dev tools, and then it's a bit of, trying to figure it out, which exactly. Okay. But thankfully we don't have to do this a lot because we try to have like helper methods for as much as possible, because this does get a bit tiring in the end.
And it's really easy just to use the automatic selector and do it, but as Nikolaj said, it's very, very flaky, so we try not to, even though it's very easy. And so sometimes I think I heard the quote from Nikolaj that it may take you 5 minutes to make the test with the automatic property selector, but it will also take your test 5 minutes to break.
Yeah, but it can be a great like start for an inspiration, so you can see, okay, what does that select, and then try and tweak it a bit. Whatever you like. But now we can call refresh content tree here, and it should refresh everything. So now, because it can be pretty hard to know like where you're at, so just run the test, and then you can see the state you end off in. Right. So we are right here. So what we want to do is right click this and then click create, I guess. Well, yeah, there's also copy.
I just wanted to create an entire new one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. You can do both.
Yeah.
I think we have a test for copy, though. I'm pretty sure
we actually do have a test for. But here we can actually use our fancy helpers. So we have one here called cy.umbraco tree item. I believe that's the one. Nope, sorry.
So these fancy helpers that you've created, they're under the hood, they're doing that sci.get and selecting the correct elements and clicking and okay.
And hopefully with proper selectors and not the automatic ones. So
so I think we can actually do this here and go content and then pass it in empty array and then click.
Whilst you're quickly figuring that out, Carl on YouTube chat is asking, is this testing the core CMS, and could you use this to do it for like your own, I don't know, implementation or site or package?
You could use that for your own package, and you can use the test helper library as well, because again, we have a lot of custom Umbraco things. So to navigate, let's say you made a package, you added some section in the settings section. So you could use our test helpers to navigate to the settings section, but then still use Cypress to click into your own stuff and assert it. It looks like it should, and there's the buttons that has the same functionality as well.
Yeah, nice.
I would use the Umbraco Cypress test helpers if testing your own packages as well.
Cool.
Here you go. All right, that didn't. But you can actually see that's a pretty nice thing here. You can see where you went.
So you're hovering over that left-hand side. Is that like each step it's doing?
Each step, and you can then see, like here, you can see every single step. And here, refresh node, and then click, and then get tree inner. That's this part that then highlighted.
So we actually have the refresh content tree that right-clicks the content. So maybe we could copy it from there.
Yeah.
Instead of
thought I can be smart and use this tree item, but that only works for items in the tree. So if you wanted to right-click the content node,
So it doesn't work for the root content node.
no, unfortunately not.
Okay.
But we have the exact selector here, so might as well make life easy for us, and then just use this, and then we can right-click it right here.
Yep.
And now we should, if you run this, we should be able to see that it right-clicks, and it did. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So now we need to click, because we have right-click, we need to click create.
But that we have a helper method for. I'm 100% sure.
Yes, 100%. Exactly here. But we needed to find the data element, because that's used for the helper method. We'll see it in a second. But this is it's okay to do. You can use the development tool and then just click create, and then we can see a bit up here we have data element action create.
Okay, so we have some custom HTML data attributes that is helping for simplifying these selectors.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to pick them. But also you can also see this from other tests. I just wanted to show how you could find them.
I think we have the side of Umbraco context menu action.
Exactly, context menu action. And this is where it takes this data element of the context menu action. Yeah. And this is action create.
This could have been action copy in
exactly.
the copy case. But, yeah.
Exactly, if you wanted to copy it would be action copy, and I think delete is action delete as well.
Yeah.
So if we click this, we should now see that our test would run automatically, but yep. And now we have to click our test type. I don't think we have a helper method for this.
No.
No.
I think it's just the good old action link we have to.
So is there any easy way to know which helper methods are available? Is it just doing IntelliSense and just hoping and seeing the list? Yep.
Most of them start with Umbraco.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is one of the areas we'd like to improve in the future and make it a lot easier.
Make it really easier, yeah.
Yeah, this is very much the like the first iteration of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
We go here, see what do we have. Well, we can see what does Cypress recommend. Is it sensible?
Mm-hmm.
Well, menu label.
No, I think we usually use something called action link.
Action link.
Yeah. Again, peeking at the other tests where we do this, we use the action link. And it might. No, it didn't recommend that. It recommended menu label, and that's the automatic selector is not always up to snuff.
Oh. Let's see if I can find it.
But should just be cited get action link, hopefully.
Let's try.
Yeah.
UMB dash
action dash link, and I think you have to start with dot.
It's a class.
Yes.
Let's try this and see what happens. Worst thing that happens is that it breaks.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about Cypress test. It's pretty carefree. You don't have to worry about breaking all sorts of things. And that seemed to work. So we can see here, we choose here, action create, action link. That's this test type. We can, I think, we could make
do site.contains test type as well.
And then it contains, and then document type name. All this does, it checks the element, does it contain the name. And the idea behind this is just in case someone left behind a document type, it doesn't completely break, which is pretty nice. So you can see here it gets the action link and then just checks does it actually contain the text test type?
Yeah. And again, that's just defensive coding.
Yeah, and I'd say don't worry. Like, if it's your first time, don't worry too much about it. This can always be changed later, and so don't go all panic mode. Just if it works, it works.
It's just when on your integration server it keeps failing, you need to start investigating what's happening.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. We make something, then this probably runs fine, and when it doesn't, then we fix it.
We only know this because it has failed multiple times for us.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point, because neither me nor Nikolaj is JavaScript experts or Cypress experts. It's really trial and error through and through. So now we probably want to give our document type that we are creating a name.
Yeah.
And we actually have a helper for this, I think. Isn't it this one?
No. Yeah.
Let me just.
Not a well-named method.
Oh.
I'm not sure either.
Let me just. Well, let's try. See what happens.
Yeah.
Call it this one as well. Node name. It did work.
Ah.
It's the header name. Yep.
That did work.
Nice. Yeah.
Name.
Okay, because it's the class is kind of like header, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the best name method, as you
Sorry,
said.
I didn't mean to criticize.
No, that's totally fine. It is not the best name.
I didn't make this method. Just go ahead and criticize all you want.
No, but yeah.
Yeah.
Feedback is always good. So.
Yeah, that's
because we want to change a lot of the stuff in the future, so it's more available to people.
And I think that's pretty much the issue, is that all of this has been made very much in isolation, doing cycle hacks and whatnot. But I guess now we want to click the
save button.
The save button, exactly. I'm just trying to remember how we do this the best way.
I think there's a Umbraco button by label key we can use.
Let's see if we can find a label then. Hopefully we can.
Yeah.
Make this big. And again, just use the picker here. Button. Nope.
Be a data element, yeah. On the div button, save and publish.
I think I'm blind.
Down. Couple more. Down one more. The end of that line.
Data element here. Oh,
yeah,
but actually,
but I want the label, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Above that.
This is because we have a specific method called button by label key, because all of the, well, I think most of the UMB buttons have this label key button, save and publish.
Yeah. So they have label keys. So we have a helper method called.
Yeah, I got Umbraco button but label key, and then we can just here, and then this should work.
Click, right? Need to click it. Did we do that?
Oh, you're correct. So we need to then click it.
Remember that one? I've forgotten that one so many times.
Yeah, then you're sitting there. Why doesn't it work?
Yeah. Do you have to then do any kind of weights or anything like that? So when you're doing like some of these click actions, obviously it sends off to the server. Do you have to code anything specific for waiting? And
thankfully, for at least like if you're waiting for some element to appear, Cypress automatically has a timeout function. They'll keep trying to fetch the button or whatever until it reaches a timeout.
Okay, so it's not something you need to really worry about then?
No, only if your tests start failing because whatever is too slow, then we have, I think we have it somewhere here. You can specify here the timeout should be. Okay. Here it's 10 seconds. But again, that's the sort of stuff you figure out once the tests start breaking, and then you go, okay.
And it's usually, in our experience, it's usually failing on pipelines because that runs much slower than your local computer.
Yeah.
So you might not need to wait on your local computer, but you might on pipelines, and yeah, again trial and error.
So, but what we probably a good idea to check is we have that we actually get this success notification that we have successfully published it.
Yep.
So we have a Umbraco success notification, and this just waits for the success notification and then passes it. And if it doesn't show up, it'll fail the test.
And yeah, but you should chain. There's an assert pattern called should, right? So you should chain dot should and then be visible.
Oh yes, that should.
So that's an assertion pattern, and we are asserting that it should be visible in the UI.
Yeah.
So
and you have other options like it should exist, or
should not exist.
you could even go should not exist, and there's quite a few of these.
And we don't always recommend the not exist, because then you could say everything is like there shouldn't exist an error in the UI ever. So every time you click should not exist error, so it's a bit of an anti-pattern. Really only use it if you have to.
But for these, this is just pure Cypress. So you should be able to, on the Cypress documentation, you can see all of these different assertions you can use. So there's a lot of help. You could see them here as well. And that's really also a key point, is that Cypress documentation is really, really good. So if you're in doubt, then that's a good place to look. But I guess now we've actually done what we need to do, and we want to assert that this home is there and it's named 1.
Yep.
And this is where
we use our Umbraco tree item, maybe.
Exactly. And I think it would be content, and then
node name plus 1.
Yeah, I think we can do this and go constant and then say expected node name.
That's probably better.
Node name plus and then 1.
Space.
And I think you need a space, before.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is, so we have here, it's the content tree, and we want to click something called node name 1. And if you had multiple things, so if you had a parent node and then a child node, then you could do like parent and then child, and then it'll automatically find the one under the parent, and it'll also, if it's minimized, it'll maximize it. Yeah, expand it, exactly. So this should give us our little extra content node, and we can then say should be visible. And let's try this. It's great when sometimes the CSS just completely fails to show. But here it usually works to just restart the test.
That's a great demo, though. It sometimes just bugs out Cypress.
Yeah, sometimes the CSS just doesn't get served. But we can see here, it found the item and it's expected okay. We have one named what we expect to do, so I test it, it passes. So just to show that it'll also fail, so if I had forgotten to do this, then
Oh yeah, we shouldn't have said anything. Yeah.
yeah, but you can see here, then it fails because it doesn't exist. So that's the basics, and now all we have to do really is, as Nikolaj mentioned, we have to clean up after ourselves.
Yes, please.
So we'll go again here, even though we set it in the beginning, we also want to do it in the end. Dot Umbraco ensure document type. If I can type. Also long name. And then we have the document type name. And then just for good measure, we can go delete all content as well. It should be deleted when we remove the document type, but just to be on the safe side, and we'll add it at the top as well. And now I think we actually have our complete test. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
So in the end, you need to remember to clean up everything you did, basically. So
Yeah.
if you clean up document type, that means all the content related to document type will be deleted. But
Yes.
if you added a new data type, for example, you also want to delete that one, right?
Exactly.
And I think we have, so we also have, we can just go.
Delete everything.
That would be, that's actually a nice thing to have.
Yeah, nuke everything.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you have both a document type, language cultures, language name, macro names, everything, you can.
And that's what we really want in the future, just to be able to load from a boilerplate, so we just know it's the same state for every test. But first of all, you'd have to maybe spin up. Right now, you'd have to maybe spin up new sites for every test, and that's very slow. And the sites are, or the tests are very slow, and even now. So if you spun up a new site for every test, that might be even slower. But yeah, that would be a dream. So for right now, the solution is to just clean up after yourself instead.
What I don't understand here is that you're deleting the document type and then deleting all content, but I think the act of deleting a document type should delete the content, right?
It should delete all the content. It's just me being a bit paranoid,
okay.
Make entirely sure if nothing is there.
It'll be like ghosted content. Might still be around. Yeah.
You never know. Yeah.
So I think we're ready to copy that test in and
exactly.
make a PR for it.
We can just
copy this. If I want to get involved and I want to start writing tests, is there a list or a backlog or anything that I can go and see to say, look, I've got, I don't know, an hour as well to spend, and I want to contribute a test? Where would I start looking to say join in?
There's not right now, but there really should be, Warren. You bring up a great point. There really should be a list that you could just go and tick off. And, hey, I've made a PR for this.
Yeah. Sounds like something we need to do.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. So, but in the meantime, it's just whatever. Take a look what you've got existing in the tests and see what maybe makes sense then.
Yeah, exactly. What do I want to test? So now that we've created the test, we can just move it over to content and just drop it here on the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
Why
would you just keep it in the same file, I suppose? Because you already have content as a category. And then you do content again.
You could also have it in completely separate files.
Yeah.
We can see we've also done this with routing and URL trigger. Currently, it's a bit the Wild West here.
That's how I like it.
Yeah, because it's a collection of cycle hacks, so it's just you know.
Yep.
So
and for people watching who don't know what cycle hack is, it's like our Freedom Friday. It's when we get time to experiment with stuff and for a day, 2 days.
And usually when you're an intern or after that, because you get bitten by it, you spend those creating Cypress tests because that's fun.
Yeah, that's pretty much how both of us got started as intern, because it's a great icebreaker task to write some tests, because it's, as you saw, it's very low risk. It's just try something, and if it goes, it goes, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But that's
and it also teaches you a use case in Umbraco. Oh, I didn't know you could use Umbraco for that. I didn't know you could create languages.
No.
Cool. Exactly.
Great.
So actually, we should, for each bug reported where something broke, we should make a new Cypress test to make sure it doesn't break any feed.
In theory, yeah.
That would be the ideal case.
Well, once I get my issue tracker intern, I'll onboard them to say that.
In theory,
the issue currently is also if you need some kind of custom configuration or custom code in the Umbraco install, it doesn't really work currently.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't just update a config file and test that scenario. Oh yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe in the
Ooh la la.
Yeah.
Carl is asking in the chat, curious if anyone in chat or the audience is using this in their own packages to run automated tests. Does anyone know if anyone's using Cypress anywhere else apart from us?
I know
someone has experimented.
MapRails has done some.
Yeah.
A vendor. And I had a little play around with trying to do it for the website builds, not necessarily a package.
So what is that for the front end as opposed to the back office, or
Yeah, more for the front end instead of back office, just because I don't want to put logins in the repo. With it being a potentially going to production tests. I was experimenting as well with spinning up an Umbraco site from like running a Cypress test and it actually build, run your site, and start and stop IS Express, etc. And basically stand up a whole Umbraco instance and then collapse it back again.
Yeah.
I suppose with the unattended install, you could automate some of that stuff. I think that's what we're doing, are we, Nikolaj, for our integration tests on the pipelines?
Yep.
Yeah, it sets the required settings as environment variables and then runs the unattended install. And then we can run the test against that one.
Yep.
Let's create a branch for this. As always, naming is hard.
V10/feature. That's a new test.
Nice new feature.
Yep.
Yes, there we go. And now we can just add create content with the name test, and we can then push this up.
And if you ever done a PR for Umbraco, you will know that it actually spins up all our acceptance tests. But now that we've created a new one, it actually also runs the one we created, which is very nice.
Oh, I did not know that.
I didn't know it. It's nice.
It does. So now you're the pull request master, so I'm afraid of doing something wrong here.
No, don't worry about it. You've done many before, I trust.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a lot easier when I know it's just V2 reviewing it. Content. Sure. Pass, and I guess we'll give it an acceptance tests label. I guess that's it. You just create a pull request and there we go.
Or else Sebastian will write you.
So now we wait an hour.
I was just about to say, I assume this is not a quick thing for this test to be spun up. And
no. But on the new like V10 dev, Paul has actually remade the pipeline, so now it only takes 20 minutes, half an hour instead of
sometimes 11 minutes on SQLite for acceptance tests at least. So
nice.
So yeah, that's creating a Cypress test.
Yeah,
from start to end.
Super nice.
Excellent.
Really useful. Thank you.
Quite welcome.
No problem.
So I'm curious, anyone else who was here, is anyone intrigued to get involved with Cypress now they've seen it? Radio silence.
Guess not.
It's so scary.
Let's call that a maybe.
Yeah. Hard maybe.
Picking battles. I've been playing with Cypress, so I'd feel confident in doing more Cypress testing, but it's whether to do that or accessibility or something else.
Okay.
Yeah, could it aid in accessibility testing? it's harder because you want.
Does have, I think it does have some accessibility tools within it, so it could. But yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and thanks Nikolaj for joining today. That was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, thanks for that. Very enjoyable.
We're glad to hear it.
I was going to say see you next week, but next week we'll be at Code Garden, so we'll do an in-person UmbraCollab.
Yeah, somewhere.
Hopefully see you in person next week.
Yeah, hopefully see you in person, guys.
Yes. All right.
Right.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.